Don't try to define God with your own human knowledge, your human thinking, your human ideology, your theological jargons. God is beyond the theology of men. I repeat, God is beyond the theology of men. When I see a lot of people argue that what God cannot do does exist, I laugh. This argument often rests on the premise that human understanding and logic can define or limit the divine. However, God by nature transcends our human wisdom and ideologies. What we perceive as limitations are simply reflections of our finite perspectives. To confine God to our limited understanding is to misunderstand the very nature of the divine, which by definition is beyond all human constraints and categorizations. To claim that God cannot do something is to impose our own limitations on the limitless of God. When people ask whether God can lie, repent, or die, they often do so with the assumption that God's nature can be comprehended through human experiences and limitations. However, these questions reflect our human categories rather than the essence of the divine. God, by definition, embodies perfect truth, unchanging nature, and eternal existence. Therefore, concepts like lying or dying do not apply to God in the same way they do to us. Lying contradicts God's nature as the ultimate truth. Repenting implies a change in what is perfect and all-knowing, and dying suggests a limitation that contradicts God's eternal and immutable nature. These questions reveal more about our finite perspective than about the nature of the divine. God's essence is beyond the scope of human limitations. Because God's power and essence are limitless and perfectly aligned with His divine nature, the notion of something that God cannot do is a misinterpretation. What may seem like limitations are actually reflections of our own constraints, not of God's true nature. So, the fact is this: what God cannot do does not exist, because God is limitless. He can do whatever He chooses to do. He doesn't need any permission from anybody. He is God. He is the Creator. He is the Almighty. Don't try to define God with your own human knowledge, your human thinking, your human ideology, your theological jargons. God is beyond the theology of men. I repeat, God is beyond the theology of men. You can't go to school to learn about God. God is a spirit, and it takes revelation to know Him. So you don't use your human brain to try to define God or to tell Him what He should do or what He shouldn't do or what He can do or what He cannot do. So God is beyond your perception as a human.